Okay, after the last video where we installed the RPCS3 emulator and the PlayStation 3 firmware into the emulator, it should be good to go. But, of course, we have the configurations still to talk about. About the configurations, I'd suggest you to firstly open a browser and go RPCS3 settings on the search. Open default settings and configurations. On the default settings, you will have listed all the options, all the default options for the settings, which is just for reference and has a brief explanation. In configurations, you will have listed all the options for the settings with numbers within brackets. These numbers are the games that require these specific settings. For example, here in PPU decoder there are 16 games that require interpreter static. You can click in interpreter static and check the list of those 16 games which require PPU decoder as interpreter static. Of course, some will have 0. The ones that are in red, don't worry about them. This is just meaning that the page does not exist. There is, as you can see, no explanation about the setting, but don't worry, because you come here or here configuration and open a specific configuration, or you can go here config and it will open the configs. Make sure that your window is big enough so you can see the end of the description square, or else your description when long can be cut off in the middle and you might not be able to read everything. As you hover on the options or settings, there is gonna appear down there the description for that setting, and also, for example, here RSX FIFO accuracy. You can see a brief explanation for every setting because it is a drop-down list, contrarily to SPU decoder where you have the options already shown and you can check each option. Now, this is not just about your preference. This is, of course, about the capacities of your computer. The major part of the options is not about the capacities of your computer, are not related to them. What I mean with this is they just change the way the emulator does its work and shows it to you, although the settings and its performance depends on your computer. There are some options that say to do not change this if you're not sure about it, and there are some options that you should know and change already. I will already, while I'm talking, I will go by the tabs. You will not have this debug tab if you just install the emulator or if you never enabled it, which I will talk about it in when it is needed. I will make a video just for enabling the debug tab. I will go by the tabs while I'm talking, so you can pause the video and copy the settings if you want. The major part of the settings will be the defaults, which you can, by the way, restore defaults down here. But some of them I change for preference, some of them I change because my computer runs better with some of them, Um, but there are really small percentage of options that you should change because of your computer. Unless all the games run poorly, you shall not need any change of settings because of your hardware. Here in audio settings, that's why I stopped here. Unless it is because of your devices that you need to change something, like for example the audio device here. For example, the emulator is speaking through the wrong audio source, then you change it here. Otherwise, you better just stick to default and it will change automatically when your computer changes the output source. Some games will need the convert to 16-bit option, and some will need you to mess around with buffering, but just stick to my options, which I think are the defaults here. Input output, you just gotta change whatever you need for example camera, and these devices here, the Buzz, the DJ Hero and Guitar Hero controllers. On your system, you don't need to worry about this. The enter with circling cross just changes on the PlayStation 3 interface if you use it. The console language will not restrain you from playing versions of the games. For example, I have console language in English US, and I have European versions of some games, and there is no problem playing them. The keyboard, you can enter with your keyboard in some situations. The others might require, yes, the PlayStation styled keyboard. Some games have their own keyboards, so don't worry about this. And the console time and console region will also just will not restrain you from anything, and will just change some aspects in the PlayStation 3 interface. The network, you don't need to worry. Also, there are just some games that might require you to change the network and PSN status. On advanced here, these firmware libraries, I don't think you will have ever the need to check any of the boxes, so just keep all of them unchecked, and feel free to copy the rest of the settings or stick them to the default settings. On emulator, now it is about customization here on emulator settings and viewport and shader loading screen and game window title and performance overlay. The max LLVM compile threads, you better not change this. Mine says all 16 because I have 16 threads, but if you have less than that, you better just keep it to all, and it will be good for sure. The rest of the settings in this tab, for example, game window title, I customized mine, so when I am playing a game and I hover like this on the tab, the name will be with this information here, which when you click edit, there is a glossary here. Or you just stick to the original, which is pretty good also. The shader loading screen is about the customization while you're opening the games. Performance overlay is just if you want the performance overlay while playing. The viewport is more of a suitable way to use your computer. For example, when you are full screen, it locks your mouse or not. And the emulator settings is about how the emulator runs throughout the games. For example, when you close the game, this emulator backend also closes. prevents player sleep while running games, the pop-ups of the trophies, it hinting down here, just like you see on my games video, the compiling shaders that are the shader compilation hints. You can also activate the start games in full screen, which by default is unchecked for some reason. On the GUI, I think this is also just about the customization. It will not have any impact on your gameplay. Here you change your theme, the theme of your emulator. The debug tab, in case you have it enabled, this is the aspect of mine. If you do not have it enabled, you don't need to worry. I will make a short video just explaining how to enable the debug tab. Don't you worry. And then close is what I'm gonna select, just because I don't know if I left something out of place. Close does not save anything, it cancels all the changes you've made. Apply changes and save changes and quits. Okay. Then in some games, like for example God of War 3, Skylanders Spyro's Adventure, Giant Swipe Force, you will need to make custom configurations. So you right click on it, and let's say another example here, Maintain Omniverse. You create custom configuration from global settings, which is that configurations we just saw, or default settings. You're probably gonna want to use from global settings. You just make the change you want or not, I don't know. You save it, and there goes the icon saying there is a custom configuration. If you want to change it, just come here and change it, do whatever you want. This is this was a weird change, I don't know, like this, I don't know, just do something and save it. It's changed now. Then you can boot manually with global or with default or with manually selected, which you will navigate through the files to find a specific configuration file. But by default, if you just click play, it will use the bold option, which is the custom configuration. If you want to delete it, just go to remove and remove custom configuration. And yes, and it is removed. I will leave in the description the links to both these pages, which might be helpful just to understand maybe why the default setting is that, if you should or should not change it. And here, if you need to know any game that needs that option, but beware that, for example, the 0 here on recompiler LLVM doesn't mean that none of the games should use recompiler LLVM. It just means that, which is actually the default option, it just means that none of the games need to be changed to recompiler LLVM. Firstly, it should be the default setting, so it will have 0. I think all the default settings shall have the 0, and the preferred SPU threads, for example, there is the auto. For example, you can click here and see the games that need, which means that other games, the ones on that that are listed, don't need to be changed this setting. So for example, if your game needs interpreter static, it shall be here. If it is not here, you don't need to change anything about CPU decoder, unless you are trying options to try to get a better emulation. Because again, these 16 here, for example, are the ones they found out to work better with that option. Other games might also run better with that option, but have not been tested and confirmed to need that option to work properly. And I think that's it about configurations, which you can also go here and find specific configurations. And I think that's it for this.